The Rise of Africa, the continent, the diaspora, and BRICS explores the relationships that are affecting the global economy right now. This book explores the relationships of the African diaspora's influence on the African continent and why this is important in stabilizing relationships with an understanding of how BRICS impacts the future, good or bad. You can order your copy of The Rise of Africa today on Amazon.com. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. Neo-diplomacy is the new currency. The reason that I can say that is you have a couple of different factors occurring right now as we speak on the world stage. The dollar is being disrupted. Nations are no longer wanting to engage with the United States. But the third factor that affects each and every one of us is that there is a diaspora from the African continent that's willing and able to engage our brothers and sisters on the continent.
Every journey begins with a simple act of care. For Quest to Unite Africa, that journey started with something simple: a mother, a newborn, and a promise that no life would be forgotten. We did not begin with buildings, we began with people. We packed mother newborn kits with our own hands because real change starts where the need is greatest. Those kids traveled farther than we imagined, and they opened our eyes to a deeper truth. Aid saves lives, but infrastructure saves generations. So we grew. Together with donors, volunteers, and partners, we sent a medical container to Burkina Faso. Not just supplies, but hope. Not just boxes, but proof that when a community comes together, healing moves across borders. That moment changed us because we realized something powerful. We weren't just delivering help, we were building a future. Now, the journey continues. The next chapter is bigger than a shipment, bigger than a campaign. We are raising funds to build a state-of-the-art hospital, a place where mothers can give birth safely, where families can find care close to home, and where communities can grow stronger for generations to come. This hospital is not just a structure, it's a promise. A promise that healthcare will no longer be temporary. A promise that dignity will have a permanent home. And just like every step before, we cannot do this alone. Every gift, every brick, every name placed on the founder path becomes part of a story that began with compassion and is growing into legacy. It helps us move from emergency aid to lasting healing, from containers to care that never leaves, from vision to reality. Join us, stand with us, help us build a hospital that will serve generations, moving healthcare into action. Visit q2ua.org today.
All right, shalom, salama, siami, shalom. Greetings to all my Israelite brothers and sisters from around the world, whether you're of the bloodline of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the house of Israel, or you're a Gentile grafted into the house under the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. I welcome you this morning. I was thinking that, I said, wow, today's kind of a slow day. Supposedly. No, it's not. A lot of things are interesting to say the least. A couple months, actually, it was a couple weeks ago, we were talking about a study was finding that here in the U.S. particularly, um, there was a move that you have a lot of the younger population wanting to adopt the culture or visit China. My son is planning that with his friends for a visit next year. He already understands all these spiritual connotations and everything else, and all, so he knows all that. Same thing when he was in Japan, had visited Japan twice. Oh, don't worry, Ninja Fire Wolf, we're getting to there. I'm just trying to open up with my morning soliloquy. My morning monologue. Because there's some things going on. Look, when that oil runs out, after the oil is gone, what used to be right is wrong. Oh, after the oil is gone, you can't drive your car that long. Oh, man. You're going to get them gas canisters. That's going to be the new hit. Put them things in them plastic baggies. Man, I got that ounce. I got that cut. I cut it back. I keep them coming back. Every day you're hustling, every day. I got that crude diesel by the barrel. Oh my goodness! I said, Father, what I'm going to talk about? I said, I'm a little hurt right here. I got things going on, body ailments. I was dealing with a bit of a stomach flu, and I was getting reports that everybody was messed up with this thing. And when they do stories like that, it's like the pandemic. Everybody had the thing at least once. How it affected you, it just depended. And it depended a lot when they found out that it did depend on your genealogical phenotypical makeup. It did mess up, and these are this isn't stories, this is actually reports. And of course, when they do those reports, you only get a little smidget, and then they quickly tear those things away. That's why I always try to capture all the news articles. That's why I put them in the links. I put and you go from there. Now, the 2020 pandemic, it had targeted, those of Neanderthal, having Neanderthal DNA. And that then brought into question, even right now, the DNA structure of the Neanderthal. Because again, I say this, they're going to lie to you about everything. They don't even want to tell you who you actually are. And you have to, you literally see them going to sub-Saharan Africa to get an understanding of the culture that they say they claim that they come from. Just saying. But when when you see these ailments, plagues going on, we're gonna get hit with that. I got hit with it, and I just said, "Thank you, Father." That took me down for a few days, and I got on up this morning. I said, "Okay, thank you, Father," because there are things I got to get done this morning. I may get a couple of phone calls here, so please bear with me. But when I look at it, I said, "Well, thank you, Father, because it'll pass. We've done what we needed to do. If you haven't been eating right and doing what you need to do to get right, then I don't know what else to tell you. We All we can do is just warn everybody, and you got to practice really what you preach." I knew I had gotten sick because when they said that this new chlorospirola, whatever it is, thing was going on, it was really in a lot of fresh fruits and vegetables. Okay, well, that's what I eat a lot of because, again, I'm trying to stay healthy. I have work to do for the Most High. Literally, I do. So that's why I really do try to stay healthy. And when that was the target per se, I realized it. And that's not going to stop me. I just have to make sure that um, how I prep things, how I prepare things, how if I'm ordering something, I just have to be very, very careful. But getting back to Ninja Firewolf's comments, the State of the Union speech, yeah, that's going to be this evening. I am, I am very much waiting to see that because look, the scam and the gimmicks of, hey, Iran is saying that they're gonna negotiate, they want to negotiate so bad, they want to, and now you have to understand, now the media, to make sure and to act like it still has credibility. Oh, well, nobody's believing that anymore because it went to the mainstream. No, it's they utilized that script, that playbook, and the playbook only worked because, again, the media is the fifth pillar or element or whatever you want to call of government, and really now you have that within social media. You want to be an influencer? Well, guess what? You better have everything in terms of the quote unquote guidelines. Remember, people getting paid thousands of dollars for that Eastern Mediterranean nation, right? To prop up their image. And it's like, sorry, they're massacring people. They realized that when they did take the money, their value actually dropped because a lot of the influencers were calling out those influencers and they're like, what do you say about this? And then they looked all shocked and then they realized, man, they took the money. So yeah, Obadiah, I believe you're right. So the fourth and fifth estate with social media. Sean says, DC on full lockdown. Highways and streets have been closed. Man, look, we were talking about that Civil War movie a couple years ago, and it's kind of interesting that everything that they've shown in this predictive programming, I would say this: be prepared for anything. I have been saying this for years. America's bankrupt. They did a big surge in printing money that's not there. People tried to get on out because if you're printing away your value, then the value that you have today is not going to be the value that you have tomorrow. How can you say my house is worth a couple $1,000,000, and then when you see people selling the house for half or a quarter of what it's worth, is it really worth that much money? No, they're just telling you that your value of your home is that much, so they can have you pay more taxes. Shoot, that's how that works here in Florida. Well, my value look at what the appraiser, look at the county. The county said this. Go ahead, sell your house. Oh, I can't find a buyer. Because why? Because wages are not keeping up with this thing. Look. I try to. You can only explain things to people because again, people love the lie and they love the delusion. And so when people say, "How is this person getting away with all of this maniacal craziness?" Because people love the delusion. They love the lie. They'll indulge the lie. They eat up the lie. When you tell them the truth, then they get mad at you. Because why? Because they're liars. I'm not a liar. Well, then what about this? Do you understand right now? The world has seen it. So what the issue was, Iran has provided time and time and time and time and time again that, okay, this has happened at least half a dozen times. And you have to understand, it's not just Iran. When people say, "Oh, well, Trump is fighting Iran," no, he's not. He's actually fighting the global South. Iran is just one of the fronts, as well as um, Ukraine. China's trying to not get involved in the fronts just yet, right? They've been trying to have the provocations with Taiwan. But as I tell people, the moment that they try to go for China, the moment it's over. It's the US is done within 12 hours. Just my opinion. They're done within 12 hours. You'll have because China will fight at a different scale. When I tell you that phones will be cut off, internet will be cut off, everything will be, scrapped, electronic warfare. There was a story the other day, they had electronic warfare situation going on where phones were hacked in the Middle East. Phones were hacked. Why would phones be hacked? Because again, most of these phone parts are made in China. Do you not think that they don't put any back doors in their phone parts? Of course they do. That was what was that's why the Pentagon was mad back in the first term. First Trump one term. All of these components made in China, guess what? They have some sort of sophisticated technology that will be remotely given. The ultimate 0 day. That's right, Brother Gar. Confucius says Chinese firmware ancient secret. Yeah, that Eastern Mediterranean nation did the same thing, and that's what had people panic. When people said was like, "Oh my goodness," everybody kept their phones away from them at least. They're at least in the other room. I'm afraid to touch my phone. Boom. You may take a call that you may not survive. What is this robocaller? Hi, Yahusha. I guess I didn't make it. Guess I'm in glory. How's the food up here? Stop playing, because we'd all be asking that same question. All right, well, I'm at the Grand Buffet, man. What? Let's see these heavenly delights. So, so I'm looking at these stories here. I took a little bit of a detour. The influence campaign, are they coming with the influence game? Very strong. This is as of yesterday. China has become more popular than the U.S. in much of the world. Survey finds China's global image is on the rise as America sours, according to a Pew survey of more than 40,000 people around the globe. This is from the Washington Post by Joshua Yang. People view China more favorably than the United States and countries across 6 continents, in a stark shift in recent years as perceptions of the U.S. sour, according to findings by Pew Research Center. 27 and people in 27 and 36 countries and territories surveyed have a higher opinion of China than the United States. Among the 20 nations also polled in the version of the survey Pew conducted last year, the median view in 2025 indicated more favorably for the U.S. than China. Some of these views that we see of the U.S. are at or near historic lows. Why? Because all these things, it starts to show the changing world, the global shift. This shift is coming. Why is this shift coming? Well, it tells you. The shift comes amid a spate of highly visible and controversial U.S. involvements on the world stage, including the second Trump administration's threat to annex Greenland and Canada, the ongoing war in Iran, the imposition of U.S. tariffs on nearly every economy in the world, the seizure of Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, the Pentagon's targeting of boats in the Caribbean, and the gutting of U.S. foreign aid. Woo. I think they need to say the least. People are trying to jump ship. They see what's going on. They see how things are moving. See, I believe, just in my opinion, now you're starting to look at this. It says at the same time, the views of China have risen since the coronavirus pandemic, when they reached the floor of extremely negative views. Why is that? It was a disinformation campaign. I guarantee you, when they say that the Spanish flu, right, it did actually originate from Fort Riley, Kansas. They finally, the pathology and the admittance. Oops, yeah, that was our fault. It got on out. It broke containment, and the world suffered. I look at it like this. It's highly plausible that may have been the action of the first Trump administration, but it didn't go as planned. It didn't go so well. Some things, the plan is okay. Here's the fallback. We need to recycle, right? It's a 4-year recycle, a 48-month recycle. Okay, let's recycle this for 48 months, and then we'll come back and do this. I think honestly that was a plan it's a plan all along. But what's the ultimate goal? The ultimate goal is to create as much confusion. The last time it was confusion by by means of chemical or biological warfare. This is now the means of every sort of warfare that they can find: technological, industrial, economic, financials, you name it. The Strait of Hormuz is taking its toll on the global economy, the global stage. And now, I believe, more than likely, in the next, I would say, uh, 14, 15 hours, when Trump has a State of the Union speech blaming everything on Iran, blaming everything on Russia, blaming everything on China. To me, that's going to be the mea culpa of how bad everything is, right? The admittance of how bad everything is. Hey, it's this bad, and now we have to do this because why? Generally speaking, to me, or for me, that means that there's probably at least a 60 to 90-day cycle that's getting ready to come. Hey, we've activated troops for this, for that. There's an imminent threat, right? They always say it's an imminent threat on the U.S. soil because of this. Well, is it plausible? Yes, it is. I mean, he dragged us into war. What do you think was going to happen? Oh, they're just going to let you strike, and they're just going to take it. They told him, look, we're not black folks. Not trying to throw shade on black folks, but we're not black. You're not going to treat us any sort of way, because I would honestly argue the reality was we don't have sellouts in our community. We don't have panderers and bootlickers. Have you noticed the whole, well, can we all get along, and can we all just can we look, I haven't heard that. I have not heard that. Even in this whole Nolan Wells case. We're asking for peace. We're asking that you all remain docile so then we can destroy you again. So that we can continue to delete you. I think you see what I'm saying? That gig is up. The game is up. No, it's not a blood money payout in dollars that's now becoming more and more worthless. Because now people understand the game so much so, oh my goodness, white folks are now speaking up. Do you understand when white people are now saying, hey, this is madness? Y'all have to snap out of it because they're literally deleting you all. Wait. What's happening? Well, you want to know what's happening? The whole world is now saying something. The whole world is now saying, hey, you know what? Y'all do this, y'all do that. The game is up. The gig is up. Hey, stop doing that, because they're going to start labeling us as the modern brown shirts. That's all Trump is doing. And we've been saying it. Okay, look, the nationalism, the popularism, they went back into literally the same construct. I kid you not. It's the same parallel construct, and they all took the bait. Why did they take the bait? Because white supremacy, vanity, is a spiritual construct. A nation, foolishness. We're given to a foolish people. If you're a fool means that you cannot understand or interpret everything that's happening around you. So then you fall right into the trap. They fell right into their trap. And then they get mad and they say, why didn't you tell us? Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you heal us? It's your fault because you said no. Don't put that blame on us. We were telling you all for years. And then it was literally that was the hand of the Most High. That all of our people, I don't care who you want to call yourself, I said leave it alone. It was a we quit moment. We quit. Well, we got to mobilize. You know how funny that was? Think about April of last year when they were like, hey, we got to get everybody on now. We got to get them together. And then we said, we're not doing it. And then they said, oh, you know what? Uh, you all need to sit down and we're going to take care of it. And we're like, okay. And, they didn't do anything. They didn't do anything. See, they're so complacent with the system, they're not going to fight for it. That's not how that works. The prison guards are not going to fight against the prison. That's a conflict of interest right there. I can't fight against the prison, then that means that the system of the prison is now inept, and therefore I have a conflict because this prison is a generational inheritance to me, and I can't fight against my generational inheritance of the prison. And now they're beginning to realize that, oh, I think that my forefathers, I think that they got it wrong about America. I don't think that I don't. And they start looking all crazy, drool coming out their mouth, not realizing that we have been saying this for a while, and now they're at their final throes. I'm sorry. Trump was your judgment. And we have been saying this. Congratulations. Congratulations. You ain't got no exit plan. Because why? Because your dollar's trash. Your relationships are trash. Everything you have now is worthless. Well, but what about me? Well, what about you? I'm one of the good ones. Says who? It went from, hey, it's not about the American people, it's about your leadership, to where it's like, man, let me just admit it. It's y'all are all messed up. The only ones that have a legitimate past is us. Why? Because we were brought here via chains. Get out of here. The bootlickers, the shuck and jive, look, they already knew they lost against this. They lost. I.e., we got to get these new immigrants on in here. We got to get these folks on in here. Because why? Because they're going to be, replacing. Okay, cool. We see that anyway. We've already said, yep, we already know what you're doing. You ain't slick. Aren't you going to get mad? Aren't you going to say anything? No, we're going to come together as a people. And now we're having one of the biggest wealth transfers. And now all of the buffer class that they brought on over, they're getting hurt. Oh, you feeling economically hurt? Are you feeling economically disenfranchised? I'm sorry. I'm sorry because unfortunately, this is what happened to us 50, 60 years ago with the civil rights. And they said, okay, well, if we can't hurt you with this, with your voice, we're going to hurt you economically. And we got hurt economically. That's what they did. That's how they controlled the system, the game. And we just said, we started to understand the concepts of this. Man, I'm taking my ball and I'm going home. It's just like the hoop. I'm not getting no calls. These folks are fouling me. They're just trying to hurt me. I'm taking my ball. I'm getting out of here. I'm going to go to another park. I'm trying to hoop with these white folks, and they're just, undercutting me, breaking my ankles, breaking my wrist, slamming me to the ground when I'm trying to have a layup. I can't even have a jump shot. They're elbowing me in the face. Sorry, I'm taking my ball. I'm out. I'm not playing on your court anymore. I'll find another court. I'll play with my own folks. They'll at least play fair. At least they won't try to ram my behind into the metal um, support pole. That's how that really is. We stop hooping with them. Come on, don't you want to get on that court? Don't you want to get competitive? Nah, we're good. I'm good. I'm gonna do something else for a change. What can you do? You can't do anything on your own. You can't. Nope. We can. Desperate times calls for desperate measures. See, in our desperation, we've already learned. We've learned the game. We've learned the model. We were just stubborn because our leaders, our shepherds that pitied us not. What were they trying to do? They're trying to keep us away from the model. Oh, that's the model that hurts them. Oh, they're not circulating. Hey, we need you black folks to get cars because somehow, some way, you magical Negroes are able to get some sort of money and funds to make things work. I don't know how you do it, but you do it. I don't know how the Most High blesses you, but He does. Man, you get a check in the mail, you don't even know where it comes from. Man, you can do this. We try to destroy you. And now they know. They know that this is what's happened. They know that they get mad because we know. We see. We're able to articulate it. See, when you're able to articulate something, that's what makes you dangerous. Because why? Because now you're able to explain things to the layperson. Hey, let me break this down for you. Let me show this to you. Let me explain this to you. Oh my goodness. You mean China's not an S-hole country? You mean China's on the global stage? Yes, they are. They're just biding their time. This is the art of war. They're biding their time. Sun Tzu, this is the art of war. Hey, let them get worn out. America's they're getting worn out. The economy's stalling. It's crashing. They're getting worn out. Folks in the Middle East, our military being deployed for months on end, they're getting worn out. They don't even know if they're coming or going. Because why? Because Bab al-Mandeb, that's about to be up in smoke. Remember the last time they had to cut a deal with the Houthis when they did what? I think they blew up the Gerald R. Ford. Oh yeah, but they didn't really have damage. They went limping back to Cyprus. Look, you can give us all the lies that you want to give us, but give it enough time and reality catches up. That's all I'm trying to say. Give it enough time. Reality catches up. Yeah, well, we have a deal with the Houthis, and we did this, and the Houthis are like, okay. We're at the culminating activities, events. And again, whatever is stated, I don't think that it's going to cause any panic, especially within the Black community, African American, whatever you want to call it. So I don't think so. I think what it will actually do is it may cause more of an impetus for our people to understand, you know what, we really do need to develop this relationship with our brothers and sisters on the diaspora, because at the end of the day, I don't care how much talk you want to, how much smack you want to talk, anything else. If you can't eat, you can't eat. And you go to the places that you can get fed at. Just saying. Yeah, data centers destroying this economy. Energy is getting extra hot. You have an extra drought. Man, it rained like 30 inches. How come it's everything's dry? You kill off the water supply, you kill off the life supply. They literally enabled Terminator. I'm just saying, and it starts with the data center first. You can't make this up. I want to get to this article. All right, because I know we I had a little bit of a canvas survey yesterday. Sorry, I'm ranting and raving. Oh, here we go. This is as of yesterday from James Laporta, Margaret Brennan, Jennifer Jacobs, and Eleanor Watson from CBSNews.com. Senior defense officials looking at Cuba military options as the U.S. Iran war restarts following the collapse of the weeks long ceasefire. Senior Pentagon officials also quietly eyeing another flashpoint much closer to home. Cuba military planners have in recent weeks examined a range of options for possible action against the island, including an army-led air assault involving thousands of U.S. soldiers to be carried out by the 101st Airborne Division, the only unit with knowledge of the discussions. The officials who spoke to CBS News under condition of anonymity to discuss national security matters stressed that carry out an operation. All right, I'm gonna look at this. Oh, I try to tie two and two together. So I don't know if you all remember, it was about this time last year. I made the drive down to Alligator Alcatraz. Alligator Alcatraz was built on an airstrip to supposedly fly illegal immigrants that have been accused of heinous crimes and things of that nature, right? To be deported from the detention center in the middle of the swamps. There had been articles just recently, even this week, and and it was because I'm here in Florida, and it's only like less than 2 hours away from me. About two and a half. They'll say, well, Alligator Alcatraz is closed. The state had closed it. Well, it's not that the state had closed, it's just that the state has stopped funding it. Now, think about this. because I look at that launch sites or launch locations in Cuba to get to Cuba. You have Homestead Air Force Air Reserve Base, which is in Homestead. You have Key West Naval Air Support, and then you would potentially have that base that's there in Hinchapie, basically the Everglades, that could run obviously command and control or other special operations or or light tactical operations, all triangulated in Florida. Now I'm going to tell you this. Like I have stated, they're going to go after Cuba. The problem is, once they go after Cuba, I'm screwed. I'm done. I'm within their range fan, especially if they have S-400s and other military and hardware equipment from China and Russia. But what else does that do? I believe that once you also have that a Cuban operation, then they would actually lose Venezuela. So to me, this is why they were always going to go after Cuba, because you had to control that Strait of Yucatan, which is the passageway between Cuba and the Yucatan Peninsula. And depending on the type of missile systems that they would have, that range fan can actually extend even up into like southern Georgia, i.e., Florida's would be then under Cuban control, at least airspace wise. I.e., so would also a majority of um, the Caribbean. So tactically speaking, Cuba is what Trump needs to be able to have his world domination conquest. Well, I wouldn't say world domination. At least Caribbean domination conquest. And a lot of people don't understand Cuba is a very, very loose end when it comes to national security at a tactical level. Oh yeah, yeah. Paratroopers. Minister Rick says, put this on up here. Paratroopers isn't a parachute plane as vulnerable as a fuel tanker plane. Operate even, and depending on the ceiling and the heights of the jump, that's how that would it it it, it wouldn't bode very well. Now they would have their THAADs and their other um, Patriot batteries and surface to air. But the reality is now every type of commercial plane would be messed up, and that would even include Air Force One. Yes, Mar-a-Lago would be very vulnerable, which is more than likely why they barricaded and they've locked down most of DC. They probably are because I'm getting into this. The officials who spoke to CBS News under condition of anonymity to discuss national security matters stressed that the briefings are not an indication that President Trump or the Pentagon have decided to carry out an operation. I'm going to tell you this: doesn't that seem like the same playbook? That to me feels like the same exact play back in December, November, December timeframe. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has emphasized that the U.S. prefer a diplomatic option. Yeah, okay. Same playbook. They're just dusting off the same playbook, rehashing the same playbook. For a transition to a new government led by technocrats and willing to make economic reforms. Technocrats, yeah. Same thing that we have here. We have technocrats. They're telling you how this model is going to work when this thing fails. It's the idiocracy playbook. Will you be sponsored by Costco or Hardee's? Carl's Jr. So now we're seeing all this stuff going down. I'm not making this up. I'm trying to explain. Why is this so critical? Because at the end of the day, when you are losing money, let me explain this thing. At the end of the day, I remember back in the 90s as a growing up in my teenage years, my formative years. One of the movies, it had Kirk Douglas. And this movie was called Falling Down. And the movie, excuse me, Michael Douglas. Sorry, in the movie, you had the middle-aged man that was dealing with divorce and unemployment. He decides to go through the remainder of his life just going through doing crazy stuff. I think that's for YouTube purposes. And you know, I'm not here to glorify that movie. I am not. Yeah, thank you, Margarita. Yeah, Michael Douglas. Kirk Douglas was his father. But what that showed was the magnitude of, look, they don't just put that on out there. It's not entertainment. To me, it's that was a generation of predictive programming, because now that generation is facing these times right now. Unemployment, divorce rates, social instability, insecurity. Why do you think they increase the ICE budget? All these agents, because why? Because they're going to have social lockdown. And is that declared in the next couple of hours? They're not going to. Well, it could be. I would say, honestly, you have a higher chance of that being declared now. And that's simply because, they, okay, whenever you're doing some sort of a psychological operation, you have to prepare and prime the public, right? What was the public being prepared and primed for? And I'm sorry, yeah, more than likely, I know my role, and I've understood in terms of being able to bring you on out the information, because there's going to be people like me that are not going to adhere to the prescription, the prescribed mode of how they psychologically prime the population. But there's a psychological priming of the population before things happen and drastic measures occur. Now, in this time, we were all being psychologically programmed. We go through a programming. Everybody does. See, the reality is, when you understand the programming is happening, why are they releasing that? You already know that they don't have to release the numbers of the oil and things of that nature. Why was there not such a panic about that? Because if you were understanding that your essential services could be disrupted, which means that obviously there has to be commercial interruptions. Why are they able to say anything, to message that? That is the actual situation that I would look at, that I would, examine, because you got to remember, here in this tightly controlled um movie, literally like The Fortress, this is a sci-fi movie back in the day with Christopher Lambert. This is, this is that technological, and they had drones too. That was a crazy thing. They had drones too. And they were following him with the drones, and they finally caught him, and they put him in the little high-tech fortress underground. I don't know what they're trying to say. Just saying. Again, that was another movie from back in the day. The reality is that as information is becoming available, they're curating all the information. They're making sure they're picking and choosing what can go when it goes. Your media is not a free media. I'm sorry. Nothing here in this world is free or uncontrolled. Get out of here. I was literally walking my dogs this morning, and I said, you know what? I said there is a price for being free with your words. When I was just shutting up and staying with the program and, biding my words and, well, it's bad, but it happens to everybody and stuff like that. You know what? I was being rewarded by the system to shut up. Now I have problems with this system because I don't shut up. People can say, you know what, but Karis, that's foolishness. If you just go along to get along, yeah, so then you can be deleted too. I'd rather speak out than die a slow death. That was the definition of slavery. It's just that right now, the capacity of slavery is a little nicer. I'm just saying it is. You get your 9 to 5, you get your paycheck, you can do your activities and do everything else. And then if you do have an unfortunate run in with a racist individual, white supremacist individual, then hey, that's such an unfortunate measure. Oh man, I wish we could do something about that. Isn't that what that usually is? Isn't that how that construct goes? Man, it's the life, it's, and I'm not the only one. We've had our people. This is why they don't like our people, because our people will see the wickedness and we challenge it. That's it. We are a very peculiar people. Because why? We don't we challenge the wickedness. Do you not know? Do you not see this? The Most High is going to judge you. And now they're in judgment. Save us from our judgment. No. No. And you know why? You want to know why they're saying we're inside, we're sitting here? Because they even understand. Even our people don't even know a lick of the word. They understand. If I help you on out, I'm going to get messed up. Boy. You're telling me that you don't read the Bible or adhere to the Bible, but that's a biblical statement. Don't help out the wicked, because you're going to get judged. And now that judgment is coming on them. I shared this again or in the chat earlier. I want to share it again just to make sure that you all can see this. Okay. Trump leans towards expanding U.S. military operations in Iran. While preferring diplomacy, Trump was briefed this week on options including use of ground troops and bombing Pickaxe Mountain. Wait. I want y'all to be truthful because we're going to get to this. This is as of yesterday, July 15, 5:30 p.m. by Alexander Ward and Lawrence Norman for Wall Street Journal. President Trump is leaning towards expanding U.S. military operations in Iran after days of briefings from top aides, U.S. officials said. Options include stepping up airstrikes, sending ground forces to seize Iranian islands near the Strait of Hormuz, and bombing a fortified site that could be used for covert nuclear work. Trump hosted a Situation Meeting Room Tuesday evening to discuss the potential seizure of Karg Island and other territory along the Strait of Hormuz using U.S. troops as well as potential. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Yep. Cynthia says, you called it. This isn't even fun anymore. I'm sorry. It's like when you know and you see, and it's like, come on now. Come on now. They wouldn't do that. They wouldn't use U.S. troops. Wait. What did it say? Hold up. I just got. There we go. Put that in that cassette player because you know that they don't do stuff like that anymore. What's a cassette player? Oh my goodness. Trump hosted a situation meeting room Tuesday evening to discuss the potential seizure of Kharg Island and other territory along the Strait of Hormuz using U.S. troops. Wait a second. They wouldn't use U.S. troops. They would have their proxies. This is I'm just going to tell you this. The moment that fails and the world sees it failing and there's legitimate proof via video, via live, you name it, and they're not able to scramble the communications, they're not able to utilize electronic warfare to hide the actions, that's when America officially loses. You got to remember, a lot of people, they hold their cards close to them and they will only unleash their cards when they get called. When all bets are off, you got to put up and shut up. Like I said, more than likely, what will end up happening, I hate to say this, but I'm going to tell you more than likely how this situation's going to unfold. Because even the thought of me even explaining it to you, I don't even want to know if I want to even say this, especially here on YouTube. Father, help me with this. What will end up happening is more than likely they'll try to send in some sort of a marine amphibious assault. They'll do some sort of a ground invasion. So, because again, they have to hold these different high value targets. They thought that they could just get rid of high value individuals that would have a major disruption within the continuity of government and things of that nature that would then bring people to the table. Actually, it instead increased the resolve. Now the and you got to remember they're doing polls in the background. They're doing studies in the background. They're having their folks, their assets, get a feel, a pulse of the population. What do they think? Is it sustainable, or do we pull the plug? They'll get the order to pack it up. Hey, listen, it's time to go. You got 72 hours to get out of there. Don't say anything, leave. If they're meeting this Thursday, I can suspect that within more than likely 24 hours, they're going to conduct military operations of some sort. The air campaigns and everything else is not working. Their bases are they're being destroyed. They really are. They're not going to report it. Times of India is actually brave enough to report that. So, and you have to understand these are still human beings. This is still people. So you either strike or you lose your morale. And if you lose your morale, you may have mutiny. And if you have mutiny, that's even worse, because then that will start to spread throughout all of the military. And then that actually starts to elicit civil cooperation, i.e., insurgency. But on the other side, you do the operation and it fails. Then you also have issues, because then it's just like, I think Rome had this with a couple different generals trying to march on the city. Hey, look, this emperor, this Caesar, this general, this band, they tried to overthrow. They don't want a Julius Caesar moment. And then the moment that that hits TikTok or hits everything else, I'm going to tell you, the moment that they got to crash the internet. That's especially here in the United States. Why do you think everybody is kind of, you know, got through and did all their other exchanges and things of that nature, their closed networks? All right, burn it down, burn the system down. How come I can't get online? How come I can't do this? How come I can't contact that? How come I can't use WhatsApp? What's going on here? What are you all not telling us? Don't worry, we're gonna do Patriot games. The the situation that will then go down, obviously, before they leave the area, they pack it on up. They limp on out of there. And I would say this, that it's still very, very highly plausible that they would use a nuclear device to evacuate and vacate the area. It's always a scorched earth tactic. like, like nothing that I'm saying is overwhelming. Nothing that I'm saying is, oh, that's so I could never say, man. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. The problem then that would occur is even though you'd have Iran destroyed, it will be in tatters. It'll be destroyed. It'll be rebuilt though. It'll be rebuilt, but it'll definitely be destroyed. But it'll definitely be rebuilt. Is that you would then have number one, the UN would pull stakes and get out of New York immediately within 24 hours, within 12 hours. We cannot be here. We know that this is that. They'd be recalling diplomats, their people left and right. From there, then everybody will try to get on home. Wait a second. I got to get to this airplane. I got to get here. Are there any boats? Do I take a ferry? Then people start trying to leave. You'd have the UN requesting, more than likely, the UN will be requesting peacekeeping operations to ensure that, right, their stability. Because they'll get hit with this. Because they'll get hit with this. Hey, you either provide us the ability to do peacekeeping operations, or we'll have to declare a war on you. And the U.S. will obviously opt for peacekeeping operations. That's the worst case scenario. Oh yeah, no, yeah. Wouldn't using a nuke put the U.S. in the crosshairs with retaliation or for retaliation with the nuke at some point? Yes, it would. Absolutely, it would. But again, this is why they would then come through, and it would be kind of a quote unquote self-policing action. Hey, we messed up. You got to give a little to get a little, right? That's the business, the business ease, right? The um the not, I want to say political, but that is the negotiating mind frame. Hey, we messed up. We got to re-examine things. We got to retool things. While we do that, we don't mind peacekeeping operations to monitor things. Because again, we're still open for business, right? That's what they're gonna say. We're still open for business. Don't everybody pack on up. We're still safe. We're still secure. See, to prove it, we're going to have our UN peacekeeper operations still here. You can have international oversight. I don't know. Let me know. Let me know if you think any different. Because to me, that's exactly what I'm seeing. We're not at the look. We're at the point. Iran did a nuclear operation in terms of the financial situation. We're 5 months in. Just about. As I was looking at this earlier today, I said, man, we're day 139. The reason that oil has not crashed just yet, again, They were telling you what they were doing with the Strategic Petroleum Reserve. Oh no, we got Venezuelan oil. Oh no, we got all this stuff going on. And then you realize that the whole Venezuelan oil charade was fake. You really got Venezuelan oil? No. They were utilizing the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, like we had been saying, since March. And they're not able to backfill it. They're not able to support it. I don't, and I tell people, I'm like, they wouldn't have that response. The response wouldn't be taken like that right away. Because again, you still have China would still be the one. They'll try to say, "Hey, we got to take the reins and see neutrality. We'll have everything on out there in Kenya, right? They've already stated that that's where they were trying to have an alternative UN location. They already have operations there happening in Kenya right now. Sorry, I'm reading this question. So I'm seeing some of the comments. David says, Karis, do you believe that this is elite's efforts of controlling oils of the world as an endeavor of ramping their new world order, or what happens as the USA is defeated? I would actually say this. I don't look at the oil as the concept and the construct of the energy solutions. Now, does it still support energy solutions? It does. I still believe that the fight over oil is supposed to be a transitionary phase for renewable energies, right? Your solar, your other alternative energy solutions. They were going to be doing alternative energy solutions anyway. But now this will then thrust everyone into the, hey, listen, we need to have these clean energies, because not only is it clean energy renewable, but did you see the last time we just got out of people destroying the world over oil? That to me is the Hegelian dialect. So then you get thrown into the new system, because look at what the old system did with this oil. The new system, look, all the resources are literally just floating around in the air. It's in the water. It's in the soil. It's everywhere. So China is staying out of the direct military conflict so that the world will look to it to help stabilize the world community. Yes. In my opinion, yes. Oh, you all done with the U.S. yet? Okay, well, now that you all know that you're done with the U.S., now that you all see that it was never going to happen, now that you all saw why we had gotten out of the currency, now that you all see that the alternative payment solutions, alternative financial solutions have been up and running, and now that it can handle this capacity, this influx, I'm just speculating here. Don't worry, everything's good. Aren't you ready for the new Spider-Man? Aren't you ready for the new Odyssey movie? Everything is good. Aren't you ready for these distractions? I'm still waiting on. Oh man, too bad with England, but guess what? A legacy showdown of Spain against Argentina. By the way, I am rooting for Spain. I think I told you all that. I'm rooting for Spain. The UK, England did it. They had a good effort. They got up early, and then they tried to set into a defensive formation. And when you let Argentina just have target practice, shooting shots from distance, and yesterday it wasn't even Messi. They actually locked Messi down. They did a good job of defending Messi. It was the other players from Argentina. And I can't say anything. Latoro, he's the only like person of color that's there. He hit the game winner. Enzo for Enzo Fernandez. He plays at Chelsea. He hit a banger. I couldn't. There was no controversy on that one. And I feel bad because the UK, the England players did not lose the game, okay? The England players didn't lose the game. The coach lost the game. That was Thomas Tuchel's fault. That was Tuchel's fault. My man was like, all right, we just going to sit here and hold down the fort. Like, literally, they just held down the fort. But you can't do that against Argentina. You have to make them run. That was the same mistake that Egypt did. And I'm like, they did the same exact mistake. Okay. Oh, but anyway. Yeah, they did, but I'm going to tell you this. And you know, Sean said they paid good money for the trophy. You know, they did, but I'm going to tell you this. No, England went up. They were playing to win. And to be quite honest, to be quite honest, they they were defending too much. I'm just gonna say I'm sorry. And soccer is very transitional. You have to run people's legs out. Especially if you are losing, then you have to have that losing team put the work in to have them run their legs out. And England didn't do that. That was just the stupidest. That was stupid. They lost because the coach had them lose a 5-4-1 formation. Basically, five people on the back line, four playing holding a midfield, and then one person as your striker. And they didn't even give them any options. It was all defensive at that point. And in Argentina, look, they may be a racist behind country, but they know how to play soccer. And the reality is that they couldn't do anything in the box until Endo Fernandez hit that shot. That they couldn't do anything in the box. They had too much athleticism. England did, and then the shot that Endo Fernandez hit, that thing was just a rocket. That thing was a rocket. But a couple of minutes beforehand, he had the same exact spot. That's what they were doing because Messi was playing on the right. He plays on the right so he can cut in with his left foot. And then they just had Endo Fernandez occupying territory. front of the goal, 30 yards out, 25 to 30 yards out. That was it. Jude Bellingham didn't close in on him in time, and it was the rest writes itself. And then Messi had the great cross, and Lautaro Martinez, we put that sucker away. That's what he does. So, needless to say, it is going to be a pretty decent matchup. Now, I could have said that, Jed Spence, there's a foul on Messi with Jed Spence, going for the ball. That could be 50-50 because he had been stepped on, but you're not going to get that call. But in any event, we'll see how this goes. And yeah, and Argentina was one of the three that voted against the slave trade vote from Ghana. That's why I'm voting against. That's why I'm rooting against them. I'm not gonna lie. That is. Yeah, and they wanted Harry Kane to be the hero too much, and they were trying to force everything into him. Now Alex Gordon had a great finish, but they put in Ivan Toney way too late, and they put in Marcus Rashford way too late. They should have had them in, honestly, at like the 60-minute mark. You needed to run their legs down. That was stupid. And like I said, look, white supremacy has many tactical errors. Well, I want to make sure that my people are the hero. And then there you go. They lost. Can't bring them in with like 3 minutes left to go. There you go. Win the game. Get out of here. Remember we were talking about putting us in those impossible scenarios to have us do and work do our thing, so then he can try to take credit. And that was too late. It was hilarious because we were literally just talking about it, and you saw it on the world stage. I mean, to be honest, it was a great demonstration of, that's what they do. Hey, they showed you what they do. They showed you how they do things. Don't get mad. They're showing you. I digress. Let me get on back here to Carg Island. They're gonna try and pull up on Carg Island. They're gonna try and pull up. I don't know. Man, they want Cuba. They want Carg. They got data centers that's sucking up all the water factory. All the water in their factories. Look, I'm telling you. So yeah, this is the deal of what's going down right now. And you can't make this up. You know what? Oh boy. Sister Margarita said, she says, didn't we lose 200 soldiers this week? They were talking about medical evacuations, CASEVACs, which is casualty evacuations. They're going to hide the numbers. I would say this weekend is going to be very interesting. And the reason that they'll do that this weekend, the reason that, and I say this, the reason that they'll do that this weekend is simply because you got the World Cup. You got a couple. You got a couple thousand hostages. Just saying. Hey, if you do anything to us, then we'll have a quote unquote incident, and we'll blame it on you all. Do you see how that works? That's pretty convenient, isn't it? I'm sorry. Yeah. I When you understand how they think, it's pretty messed up. When you understand how they look at things, it's pretty messed up. If you try to retaliate, we're gonna delete people, and we're gonna blame it on you. Y'all act like we don't know how these people think or operate. Stop. We do. Look, war is a very funny game. It's not fair. Now, after the World Cup, that's going to be a different story. But then again, by then, it'll be way too late. So it's going to be this: either Iran defends Karg Island with its life, or they get rolled up on. I say, we'll see. I laugh because I'm like, hey, we'll see. It's really not funny. It is not funny at all. It's actually very, very sad. And then I would say that everyone, look, if you don't hear from me anymore, it's not because I didn't want to be on here. I'm just letting you know. It's not because I didn't want to be on here. If you didn't hear from me anymore, just pray for me. Something may have happened. Those War Powers Acts, they have very, very their levels of power extend very wide, far and wide. I haven't said anything about overthrowing the government. I haven't said anything about anything. But it's just that, hey, I'm on YouTube. I'm an easy target. It's him. He's the problem. He's the source of all of our problems. Huh? I'm just explaining this to you all while you have a chance to repent. The Most High's not playing games with us anymore. There's no time for games. If you want to continue to play games with the Most High, you're now playing Russian roulette for real. That's it. That's the game you're playing. Because these folks right here Oh, I don't know if I could actually play this because it may demonetize. Well, it's going to demonetize anyway, but the video. Here we go. When you're subpoenaed and having to appear in court, it's getting real out here. Let me make sure I'm still on. I'm still live. I can't even get back to my little tab. Oh my goodness. I can't even get back to my tab. Yeah. Yeah, I couldn't even share the audio on that. But you saw basically in Palestine Square, they had a Trump or a picture of the president of the United States in a coffin. It's getting real out here. They arrested the New York Times reporter that reported on the president's plane and things of that nature. Are they're the subpoenas and things of that nature used in warfare? I don't know if they arrested. It was definitely the subpoenas. Again, we shall see what this address to the nation. So this is something that, again, the best news that we have is this: the Most High is really moving. Yeah, that was in Iran. Yes, the mural was in Iran, and you have to understand they're not they're not capitulating. They're no longer cooperating, or so the lies of, hey, we're talking to them, we're talking, man, these folks are painting murals of your demise. Get out of here. So that's why they're not able to control the narrative. Again, once the narrative, they lost that control. That is actually a military operation. I don't know if people actually realize that psychological operations, media operations, that's a military operation. When it's not, when the populace is no longer influenced, that's when you have to do further tactical strikes, because there's no consensus or the amount of people on out there that would be willing to be subservient to military action. Well, then they're an aggressive force. They're an aggressive population group. They would be categorized as potential combatants. That's how that works. The more technical word is they could become hostile actors. So then they'll say, people, I'm in fear of my life, and if folks are getting gunned down and they decide to pick up arms to try to, fight or flight, then they'll say, well, they were aiming at me, and I had to to gun down that that man or woman that was not, a uniformed person because he was trying to save his family's life. Then they'll say that, this was a para Iranian military. You see how that goes? So now they can say, okay, now the local population is no longer, a an imminent um they're no longer receptive towards the messaging campaign, and now they're going to be treated as hostile actors. Can't do anything. They don't want to. Do you see what Trump was trying to say? The people of Iran. We're dealing with. We're tired of dealing with them. So he was already laying out the groundwork that now, hey, these are just savages. Every word is it's choreographed. It's curated. Why is he saying it? What purpose is it? So they can start to lead you along this journey. Oh, this is how we go from point A to point B. Well, Trump said that they're savages. Trump tried to work with them. Trump, you say so they can really the population's influenced here to accept the talking points. Everything that's going on now, hey, the U.S. is in a bad light. They got the Nolan Wells situation that's now going internationally. Wait a second, they actually do this to black people still? They actually do this to teenagers? Yes. They're in a bad light. Hey, if we're gonna be the bad guys, we're just gonna be the bad guys for real. I thought that they were the good guys. They were the good guys. Remember the good guy doll? Remember Chuck East? Come on, Minister Rick. Isaiah 13 and 17. The Medes cannot be tempted with silver or bought with off with gold. Nope. Oh man, there was a story that did leak on out. This was on the Midas Touch Network. That story did leak on out. They were talking about they were going to give Iran like 4.5 billion of this like $9 billion construction scheme fraud. This is purported. And they said forget it. That's what Iran said. Iran said forget it. And that actually took the US back. They were like, wait, you don't want to get any of this? You're not going to sell out on these funds? And they literally told him, no, thank you. That was on the Midas Touch Network. I was That was interesting, to say the least. It was very interesting. So yes, family, we'll see. Things. I would say that more than likely we have a very significant chance of things um ramping up, and I do have to go because I'm now being called to get things done. So that is my time to exit. I already knew today was going to be kind of busy, and I gave you that, at least that caveat um earlier for those that had joined. Again, thank you for your prayers, your support, your gifts. They are a blessing, family. We shall see what transpires over these next couple of days. Don't be in fear. Fear not. The Most High's got us. He's got us in the palm of his hands. That's why when they say, well, how come you're not afraid, Art? Look, the Most High's already got this taken care of. We already know who wins the victory. So all we're doing is we're declaring the victory that the Most High already has. That's it. It's simple. Most High's got this. Hallelujah. He's an awesome Elohim. He truly is. So with that said, got to get on out of here. Hallelujah. Hallelujah. Most High willing, I will be on. I will be on. Yakoba's having a special for our people. I know that a lot of things are happening, and this is the timing. This is the timing of how we are moving as a people, as a group. Because I know, look, with when the Most High has something on his, gives us something in our spirit, he has it for a reason. He has it for a reason. But with that said, family, I'll see you all later on. And with that, shalom, salama, siemi, shalom, peace, and blessings, Yasharel.